The rain fell in sheets that evening, turning the Seattle streets into silver mirrors. Emily Carter stood outside the small bookstore at the corner of Pine Street, her umbrella useless against the wind. She hadn't planned to stop there, it just happened. Her heart had dragged her there before her mind could stop it. The glowing sign, Harbor Books, flickered like an old memory she never wanted to face again. Inside, through the glass window fogged with rain, she saw Himrion Miller, the man she had once loved, the one she had left behind without saying goodbye properly. Her chest tightened at the sight. 2 years. 2 long empty years since she last saw him. He looked different now, older, quieter, as if the years had carved stories into his face. He wore a gray coat, his hair slightly longer than she remembered. His hands still moved the same way, gentle and steady, as he stacked books by the counter. Emily's throat went dry. She didn't know what to do, walk in or walk away. But before she could decide, the door opened. The familiar bell above it chimed softly, and Ryan stepped outside, almost walking into her. His eyes widened when he saw her standing there, soaked, shivering, and completely speechless. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The rain filled the silence between them like a song from a past life. "Emily," he said at last, his voice low, unsure if she was real. She nodded, her breath catching. "Hey, Ryan," he blinked, trying to hide the rush of emotion that flickered across his face. "You're here." "I didn't plan to be," she whispered. "I was just passing by." Ryan smiled faintly, the kind of smile that carried both pain and warmth. "Seattle's small, I guess." The rain drummed harder against the pavement. Emily's hair stuck to her face, and her fingers trembled as she tried to hold the umbrella steady. She looked at him and saw everything she'd tried to forget: the late-night coffee runs, the laughter in his tiny apartment, the way he always looked at her like she was the only thing that mattered. "I thought you left for good," he said quietly. "I did," she admitted, "but I couldn't stay gone forever." Ryan studied her face as if searching for the girl he once knew. There was a small pause, heavy with all the things they never said. "Why now?" he asked. Emily swallowed hard. "Because I realized what I lost." The rain splashed at their feet. Ryan's voice softened. "I waited, you know. I waited a long time." She looked up at him, her eyes glistening. "You shouldn't have." He shook his head. "You once told me to never stop believing in us." Her breath hitched. "Ryan, I never stopped," he said simply. Something inside her broke. The years apart, the lonely nights, the letters she never sent, it all came rushing back. She wanted to speak, but her voice trembled too much. The sound of rain filled the silence again. She took a step closer, her heart pounding. "I begged you back then to never stop caring. I didn't mean forever." Ryan's eyes softened, and a sad smile tugged at his lips. "I did." Emily could feel her heartbeat echo in her ears. He wasn't angry. He wasn't bitter. He just stood there, patient, calm, the same way he used to when she needed time to find her words. That was what hurt most. His kindness hadn't changed. The storm around them grew louder, but neither of them cared. The world had shrunk to just the two of them, 2 people standing in the rain. Caught between the past and the future, Emily finally whispered, "Why didn't you move on?" Ryan looked at her like the answer was obvious. "Because no one ever made me forget you." She didn't know whether to cry or smile. The words felt too heavy, too real. She had tried to move on herself, meeting people, pretending she was fine. But every time someone asked what she wanted in life, her mind still went back to him too, the boy who loved her quietly, completely. Without asking for anything in return, she took another step closer, close enough to see the small scar under his chin, one he got helping her fix her old bike years ago. He hadn't changed much. Maybe neither had she. "I don't know what I'm doing here," she said softly. Ryan chuckled gently. "Maybe this is where you were supposed to end up." The bookstore light flickered behind them. Cars rushed by, their headlights slicing through the rain, but Emily didn't look away from him. She could feel the air between them, thick with memories, regret, and something else she didn't want to name just yet. She finally said, "You once told me you'd wait for me no matter what." I thought it was just words. He smiled faintly. It wasn't. Her eyes filled with tears. Ryan, I hurt you. You should hate me. He shook his head. I couldn't, even if I tried. You were the one person who made me believe in love that lasts. Emily's heart twisted. She had spent years running from pain, from the truth, from him. But in that moment, under the cold Seattle rain, all she wanted was to stay. The storm began to quiet down, the raindrops softer now, like whispers instead of shouts. Ryan stepped closer until he was only a breath away. She could smell his familiar cologne, faint and nostalgic. I never stopped missing you, he said quietly. Not once. Her lip trembled as she whispered back, and I never stopped thinking about you. It felt like time folded around them, bringing back every laugh, every fight, every promise they once made. The world hadn't moved on. It had just waited. Like Ryan had. Emily looked into his eyes, and in that moment she understood something she never had before. Love doesn't always fade. Sometimes it just waits for the right time to return. Ryan took her hand gently, his touch warm even through the chill. You don't have to decide anything now, he said softly. Just don't walk away again. Her tears mixed with the rain. She nodded. Not this time. The streetlight above them flickered once more before going steady, casting a soft golden glow over their faces. For the first time in 2 years. Emily felt a strange peace inside her, feeling she had forgotten existed. The rain began to ease. The clouds drifting apart slowly, revealing a thin stretch of moonlight. Ryan gave a small smile. Looks like the storm's finally over. Emily looked up at the sky, then back at him. Maybe for us too. They stood there for a moment longer, hand in hand, surrounded by the quiet hum of the city. The nights smelled of rain, hope, and second chances, and though neither of them said it aloud, they both knew some promises are never broken. Some hearts never stop waiting, and sometimes love really does find its way back. Even after the storm, the next morning, the city was wrapped in quiet sunlight after the long storm. Emily woke early, unable to stop thinking about Ryan, his voice, his eyes. The way he had said, I never stopped, kept echoing in her mind. She didn't plan to see him again so soon, but her heart pulled her back to that old corner cafe, Maple. It was where everything between them had started years ago. When she walked in, the smell of roasted coffee and cinnamon filled the air. Nothing had changed. The same worn-out chairs, the same jazz music humming in the background, the same table by the window where she used to sit with Ryan every Sunday morning. And then she saw him again. He was already there, sitting in that same seat, as if he'd known she would come. Good morning, he said with that soft, careful smile she had missed. Emily tried to smile back, but it came out weak. I didn't think you'd be here. I come here most mornings, he said, glancing at the cup in his hands. Old habits die hard. She sat down across from him, her heart racing. The moment felt strange, familiar but distant, warm but filled with unspoken tension. 2 years apart had left a scar neither of them wanted to touch yet. I thought you moved to Chicago, she said, breaking the silence. I did, he replied. But I came back last year. My dad's been sick. I needed to be here. Her eyes softened. I didn't know. I'm sorry. He nodded slightly. It's okay. Life happens, right? They both went quiet again, the sound of coffee cups clinking around them. Emily didn't know what to say. Every time she looked at him, old memories came flooding back. The nights they stayed up talking about dreams. The arguments that ended with laughter. The promises they made and broke. You still look the same, Ryan said suddenly. She smiled faintly. You don't, you look. Calmer, he laughed quietly. Guess I had time to think. Emily looked down at her cup, her fingers tracing the rim. About me, she asked before she could stop herself. Ryan didn't answer right away. He leaned back, his expression thoughtful. Every day for a while, he admitted. Then I tried not to. But somehow even the smallest things brought you back. A song, a smell. The sound of rain. She felt her throat tighten. Ryan, he stopped her gently. It's okay. I'm not blaming you. I just want you to know I understand now why you left. You were scared? Her eyes filled with quiet guilt. I thought I was saving you from me. I was a mess back then. I couldn't hold a job, couldn't make decisions. You had everything figured out, and I didn't want to drag you down. You didn't drag me down, he said firmly. You lifted me up, even on your worst days. She looked at him, surprised. There was no anger in his tone, just honesty, the kind that made her chest ache. I spent so long thinking you hated me, Stray said softly. Ryan shook his head. I never could. I just wished you'd trusted me enough to stay. The words hit her harder than she expected. She had run away, believing it was the right thing. But hearing him now, she realized all he had wanted was a chance to fight for her. He glanced at her notebook lying beside her cup, the same brown leather one she used to carry everywhere. Do you still write? He asked, trying to change the subject gently. She smiled a little. Only when I miss you. The air grew still. For a moment, neither of them breathed. Ryan's voice came out softer this time. Then you must have written a lot. Her lips trembled into a sad smile. More than I should have. He reached across the table, his hand brushing against hers. It was a small gesture, but it carried the weight of everything left unsaid. Emily didn't pull away. His touch felt warm, steady, familiar, like coming home after being lost for too long. You ever wonder, she asked quietly, what would have happened if I hadn't left? All the time, he said without hesitation. But maybe we weren't ready then? Maybe we needed time apart to figure out who we are. Emily nodded slowly. Maybe, but I wish I could have figured it out without losing you. He smiled gently. You didn't lose me, Emily. You just forgot where to find me. His words were simple, but they hit deep. For the first time, she saw him not as the boy she left, but as the man who had waited not out of desperation, but because love had never left him. Outside, the sky turned golden as the sun broke through the clouds. It was one of those rare Seattle mornings when everything looked fresh, alive, full of second chances. Do you think we could ever start over? She asked, almost afraid of her own question. Ryan took a deep breath. Maybe we shouldn't start over. Maybe we should just continue from where we stopped. That made her smile. And where did we stop? He looked into her eyes, his voice steady. Right before you walked away. Her heart skipped. There it was again, that calm strength in his words. The same one that used to steady her. They sat there for a long while, talking about small things, his job, her writing, the places they wanted to visit someday. It wasn't awkward anymore. It felt peaceful, like they were learning to speak a language they had once forgotten. When they finally got up to leave, Ryan held the door open for her, just like he always used to. She stepped outside into the crisp morning air and turned back to him. Thank you, she said softly. For what? For not stopping. He smiled, and it was the kind of smile that could break and heal a heart at the same time. I told you I wouldn't. Emily looked down the street, the sunlight spilling across the wet pavement. Something in her heart shifted that morning, a small, fragile hope beginning to grow again. As Ryan walked beside her, she realized how strange life could be. Sometimes you lose the right person at the wrong time, only to find them again when you're finally ready to hold on. They stopped at the corner where they would soon part ways again. Ryan turned to her, his voice soft. You don't have to decide anything now. Just don't disappear again. She nodded. I won't. Not this time. He smiled and stepped back. Then I'll see you tomorrow. She hesitated only a moment before saying, tomorrow. And as she walked away, the morning sun warmed her face. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was running from anything. She was walking toward something, or rather, someone she had been missing all along. Behind her, Ryan watched quietly, a faint smile on his lips. He didn't chase after her. He didn't need to, because this time he knew she'd come back on her own. And for the first time in years, Emily felt light, as if the heavy rain had washed away all the fear, leaving only truth behind. She knew she wasn't ready for everything yet, but she was ready for him. That evening, Seattle was calm again. The rain had stopped, and the sky was painted in soft shades of blue and gold. Emily walked along the waterfront, her hands tucked into her coat pockets, her mind spinning with thoughts of Ryan. Every word he had said that morning kept replaying in her head, gentle, honest, and full of meaning. She had left him once, believing she was doing the right thing. But now she wasn't sure of anything anymore. The air smelled of salt and rain. The sound of waves hitting the pier filled the quiet, and for a moment she felt peace. But that peace didn't last long because she heard footsteps behind her. When she turned, Ryan was there, walking toward her, holding 2 paper cups of coffee. "I thought I'd find you here," he said, offering her one. She smiled faintly. "You still remember my favorite spot." "Some things are hard to forget," he replied. They stood side by side, watching the water shimmer under the fading light. The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable anymore. But Emily felt something heavy inside, something she'd been avoiding since the day she left him. "I used to come here a lot," she said softly. "It was the only place that felt quiet enough to think." Ryan looked at her, his voice steady. "And what did you think about—" She hesitated. "You, us, everything I ruined." He didn't interrupt. He just listened the way he always did when she needed to speak. "I was scared, Ryan," she continued. "You were so sure about life, about us, and I wasn't. I thought if I left, maybe you'd find someone better, someone who wouldn't need fixing." He sighed, his breath visible in the cool air. "I never wanted perfect, Emily. I just wanted you." Her chest tightened. "You don't understand how lost I was back then. I couldn't even take care of myself. I didn't want you to carry that weight." He stepped closer, his voice calm but firm. "You weren't a weight. You were the reason I learned to care about something more than myself." She blinked back tears. "Then why didn't you come after me?" He looked out at the water. "Because I promised I wouldn't chase you. You asked me to let you go, and I had to respect that. But you also begged me to never stop believing in you. So I didn't. I waited." Her eyes filled with tears. "You waited 2 years, Ryan. You should have stopped." He turned toward her, meeting her eyes. "I couldn't. You were always the one." Those words hit her harder than she expected. She wanted to be angry, to tell him he should have moved on, but deep down, a part of her was grateful that he hadn't. The wind blew gently, brushing her hair across her face. Ryan reached out instinctively and tucked a strand behind her ear. His fingers brushed her skin for just a second. But that tiny touch sent a rush of warmth through her chest. She looked up at him and whispered, "I missed this. I missed you." He smiled softly. "I missed you too. Every single day." Emily's throat tightened. "I tried to forget you, you know? I went out, met people, pretended I was okay. But nothing ever felt right." Ryan's voice was quiet. "That's because some things aren't meant to fade." She looked at him, her eyes searching his face. "How did you do it? How did you not give up?" He took a deep breath. "I reminded myself that love isn't about time. It's about truth. And the truth is, I never stopped loving you, even when you were gone." Emily's eyes welled with tears again. She didn't hide them this time. "You make it sound so simple." "It's not," he said gently. "It's just real." The sky darkened as the city lights flickered to life. They stood there, quiet for a long moment, listening to the waves and the hum of distant traffic. Emily felt something shift inside her, a quiet realization that she had been running not from him, but from herself. "I kept thinking I didn't deserve you," she whispered. "But maybe I was wrong." Ryan stepped closer, close enough that she could feel his warmth in the cool evening air. "You were never unworthy, Emily. You just needed to find your way back." She looked down at the coffee cup in her hands, her voice trembling. "And now that I have," he smiled softly, "now we figure it out. Together." She nodded, a small tear escaping down her cheek. "You really never stopped, did you?" He shook his head. "No. I waited. I hoped, and I believed, even when it hurt. Her heart felt heavy and full at the same time. She stepped forward and rested her forehead against his chest. He didn't move, just wrapped his arms around her gently, like he was afraid to break the moment. The sound of his heartbeat under her ear felt like home. After a while, she whispered, I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know if I can make everything right. He kissed the top of her head softly. We don't have to make it perfect, we just have to make it real. Emily closed her eyes, letting the comfort of his words sink in. The city around them blurred into the background. All that mattered was that she was there in his arms. After years of silence, when she finally pulled back, she looked up at him with teary eyes, but a small smile. You're still the same, Ryan. Still patient, still kind. He laughed quietly. And you're still stubborn. That made her laugh too, a sound that carried warmth through the cool air. For the first time in a long time. She felt light again. They walked together along the waterfront, side by side, not talking much. Words weren't needed anymore. Every glance, every small smile said enough. The night sky above them was clear now, the stars faint but visible. Emily stopped suddenly and turned to him. You waited all this time. Doesn't it scare you that I might hurt you again? Ryan looked at her, his eyes gentle but steady. It does, but love always comes with risk. And if it's you, I'll take that risk every time. Her heart swelled at his words. She didn't reply. She simply took his hand and held it tightly. For the first time, she didn't feel like she was trying to fix the past. She was finally living in the present with a man who never stopped believing in her. The wind blew softly again, carrying the scent of sea and rain. Ryan looked at her and smiled. Feels like the start of something new. She nodded, her hand still in his. No, she said quietly, smiling through her tears. Feels like something we never finished. He squeezed her hand, and for the first time since that stormy night years ago, Emily believed that maybe, just maybe, some love stories don't end. They just pause until both hearts are ready again. Weeks passed quietly after that night by the waterfront. The city had moved on into early spring sunlight, brighter, mornings gentler, and everything feeling new again. Emily and Ryan found a rhythm without forcing it. They didn't call what they had starting over, 'cause it wasn't. It was continuing something that had never truly ended. Every morning, Emily would stop by Maple and Main, the same cafe that used to hold their memories. Ryan was always there, waiting by the window with 2 cups of coffee, one with extra cream, just how she liked it. Some days they talked for hours, other days they sat in silence, just enjoying each other's presence. It wasn't about words anymore. It was about peace. Ryan had started helping at the bookstore again, while Emily worked on her writing, something she had ignored for years. It was Ryan who encouraged her to submit her short stories to local magazines. You've always had a voice that makes people feel something, he'd told her. That kind of faith, steady and quiet, was what kept her going. One Saturday evening, they took a walk along the bridge that overlooked the water, the same bridge where they had said goodbye years ago. Emily paused halfway across, leaning on the railing as the wind brushed her hair across her face. The sunset was painting the sky in gold and orange, and the reflection on the water made it look like the world was glowing. This is where it ended once, she said softly. Ryan stopped beside her. And where it began again. Emily smiled. Do you ever wonder if things would have been easier if we'd never fallen apart? He thought for a moment before answering. Maybe easier, but not better. We wouldn't have learned what love really means. She turned to him, curious. And what does it mean to you now? He smiled faintly. It means choosing someone even when it's hard. It means staying even when the storm hits. Her eyes softened. You kept your promise. I nodded. I told you I'd never stop. A long silence followed. The city lights began to flicker on in the distance, and the sound of waves echoed beneath the bridge. Emily looked at him with quiet admiration. He wasn't just the boy she once loved, he was the man who had waited without bitterness, who had loved her without asking for anything back. I used to think love was supposed to be perfect, she admitted. Now, I think it's just supposed to be honest. Ryan reached for her hand. That's all I ever wanted from us, honesty. She held his hand tighter. Then let's be honest now. I was scared before, Ryan. I thought I'd ruin you. But you're the one who saved me from myself. He smiled, shaking his head gently. You saved me too, Emily. You gave my life meaning when I didn't even know I needed one. The wind picked up, cool and soft. She leaned closer, resting her head on his shoulder. I still don't know what comes next, she whispered. Ryan wrapped his arm around her, pulling her closer. We don't need to know. We just take one day at a time. They stood like that, watching the sky fade from gold to deep blue. The bridge lights flickered above them, glowing like small stars. Emily closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing. It felt safe, real and grounding, like home. After a while, Ryan broke the silence. You know, he said quietly, the night you left, I stood right here for hours. I told myself I'd wait until the lights went out. Emily looked up at him, tears gathering in her eyes. And did you? He smiled softly. I did, but they never went out. Neither did I. Her tears fell then quietly, and he brushed them away with his thumb. You don't have to cry anymore, he said gently. I'm not sad, she replied. I'm just grateful. You kept your heart open even when I didn't deserve it. Ryan looked at her with a quiet kind of love. That's the thing, Emily. Love doesn't measure what's deserved. It just stays even when it hurts. She let out a shaky laugh. You always say things that make me want to cry and smile at the same time. He laughed softly too. Then I'm doing something right. As the evening deepened, they started walking again. The city below was alive with lights, but everything felt calm. Emily glanced at him, her expression thoughtful. Do you think we'll make it this time? Ryan met her eyes. I don't think, Emily. I believe. Those words settled deep inside her heart. She didn't respond, but her silence said enough. Weeks turned into months, and the bond between them only grew stronger. They didn't rush anything. They learned to appreciate the quiet moments, the sound of rain on the window, the way sunlight fell across their table, the shared laughter over burnt toast on Sunday mornings. Emily's stories began getting published, one after another. Her editor once told her that her writing carried a rare warmth, as if it came straight from the heart. What they didn't know was that Ryan was her heart, the reason her words had life again. One evening, as they sat together on the porch of Ryan's small house, Emily looked at him and said, You know, I used to think I'd never find peace. But now I wake up every morning and I'm just thankful. Ryan smiled, sipping his coffee. For what? For you, Ski said simply. He set his cup down and looked at her with that same patient gaze she had fallen in love with years ago. Then I guess we both have something to be thankful for. They didn't need big declarations anymore. Everything that mattered was in the quiet gestures, the way he reached for her hand when the world felt uncertain, the way she leaned into him when words weren't enough. One night, they went back to the bridge again, the same spot where it had all started. The city lights reflected beautifully on the water below. Emily turned to him and smiled softly. Feels like we've come full circle. Ryan nodded. Maybe we have. Or maybe this is just another beginning. She stepped closer, her hand finding his. Whatever it is, promise me one thing. He looked at her curiously. What's that? Promise me you'll never stop believing, never stop loving like this. He squeezed her hand gently, eyes warm and steady. Emily, I already promised that a long time ago. The night was calm, the water below shimmering under the moonlight. Emily rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat steady, strong, and familiar. For the first time in years, she felt complete. She realized love wasn't about grand gestures or perfect timing. It was about someone who stayed, someone who waited, someone who never stopped. And Ryan Miller never did.